Good afternoon and welcome to the Living Well radio program. You can find us here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. on KATB 89.3 in Anchorage as well as KJLP 88.9 in Palmer. You can also find us online in a few different places. Check us out on katb.org as well as our Facebook page at Living Well Radio and now available for download as a podcast on iTunes. So we look forward to connecting with you in all of those places. Are you checking on all those things for us, Betty?
I am.
Keeping
I got it covered.
You got it covered?
Yep.
Excellent. You got our podcast downloaded?
Almost. I think I'm a little bit behind.
Oh, no. We got to get you on top of that for sure. We are super excited to be joining you today. My name is Cammie, always joined by Betty. Glad to have you back in the studio, Betty. It's been a while.
It has been, hasn't it? We're having all kinds of mechanical, technical difficulties today.
Our little microphones are all over the place, kind of
Yes.
swing in their own direction. And
We need to talk to our boss about that.
we do. Let's get with Tom on that, okay? Anyhow, we are joined by no stranger to us here, but Pastor Darryl Nelson is joining us from the Anchorage Baptist Temple, and he's going to be talking to us today about all things youth and just sharing with us a big event coming up called Fusion Alaska. So we look forward to kind of digging into the details of your role, Darryl, as a youth pastor and kind of promoting this event that's coming up. So welcome to the studio.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I feel a little outnumbered. There's too many women in the studio.
A lot of estrogen in here.
Yeah, I don't know how to handle this. Although,
Well, it
I
is
guess
Alaska
I got
Christian
kids
women,
that-
you
yeah,
know.
I guess I should have known what I was walking into. But yeah, no, pleasure to be here. Love what you guys are doing. It's awesome.
Appreciate it. So just to get us started, tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, kind of give us the 411.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am not originally an Alaskan. I know I've been here 12 years, so I feel like I've kind of absorbed into the Alaskan culture some, but I'm originally a Jersey boy. I grew up right outside New York City, so Alaska is a little far from home for me. But
Just a tad.
Just a little bit, but I love it, and it's grown on me. And I love being from New Jersey because I was exposed to a lot as a kid. Just had a lot of opportunities being right outside New York City, being able to see things and hear things and watch things all over the place. So I'm just excited to be here in Alaska and be able to have a different pace of life, different atmosphere, different culture that I'm working in. But yeah, I've been here 12 years. Met my wife in college, and she is from Alaska originally, and now she drug me up here after college to take a job here at the church. And like I said, that was 12 years ago, and been here ever since, working with students, student ministry at ABT, and love every minute of it, love every second of it and what we do. We have 3 children, 3 wonderful children. Gavin is 10 and a half, and Michaela is getting ready to turn 8. And then we have a little girl named Kanika that just turned 6 years old, and we adopted her coming up on 4 years ago.
Has it really been that long?
It's
hard
been
to
almost
believe,
4
isn't it?
years. So she was 2 years old when we picked her up, and
Wow.
it's been a journey. We love what we do. We love serving the people of Alaska, and just been a great ministry and a great time for our family. So.
When you moved up here to Alaska, was it a shock? Was it a cultural shock to you? Was there a lot of difference?
It was a little bit of a culture shock, you know, for me growing up outside of New York City, coming to the great outdoors, really. It was, the pace of life is a little different, here than in New Jersey. New Jersey, everything is boom, 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 boom. You know, if you're on time, you're late. If you're late, you're dead type of scenario. So, so coming here, it was a little off, but, I went to school in North Carolina. So I feel like that kind of prepared me. Doing 4 years in the South, kind of
It's a little bit slower.
Yeah, it kind of slowed me down a little and gave me the ability to kind of adapt to different cultures. You know, being just engulfed in the northern culture and then going down south, that was a culture shock that I adapted to over 4 years. So when I moved straight from college to here, it kind of helped ease that out a little bit. I think it prepared me. And you know, our church moves at a very fast pace, so I still get that New Jersey vibe every once in a while, you know, just doing ministry up here because we are very much a task-oriented, we're going to get this done and do it well and do it quick. And
We're probably already talking about the Christmas pageant, I imagine, somewhere in the building.
So my wall in my office shares a wall with our music pastor, and I've been listening to Christmas music via
serious?
the wall
I
for
meant
the
that as
last
a
month.
joke,
Nope,
but this
totally
is
true,
real.
totally real. So it's the struggle of sharing a wall with the music pastor, I guess. But
Darryl, when did you know you wanted to be a pastor?
When did I know? It wasn't until about halfway through my freshman year in college.
Oh, really?
I had other people speaking it into me most of my life, all through high school. There was a guy named Mr. Barry. He was our Sunday school superintendent of our high school department in New Jersey at our church. And he would always look at me and say, "You're going to be a pastor one day." And I just kind of laugh it off and go on the way. Because at that time, my goal was to go play football in college and, either make the NFL or coach football and teach. That was kind of my path, my plan. And God wrecked me my freshman year in college and totally changed paths on me. Once football was taken out of the equation, I found myself, I had placed my identity in football for so many years that when that was taken away, I didn't know who I was anymore. So just being able to just be stripped back and hear God speak to me through a guy by the name of Clayton King. He was speaking at a chapel service down in North Carolina, and it was just very clear at that point that I needed to submit to what God had put in front of me. And that week I went and changed my major from education to ministry and haven't looked back since. So.
How did your family respond to that?
It was interesting. They were supportive. They really were. I grew up in a Christian home. We were in church, every time the doors were open. And they were supportive yet nervous, I think, at the same time, because historically pastors struggle to support their family and be able to do X, Y, and Z. And so I think it was, my mom came from a financial background. She worked for big financial corporations, and my dad was a police officer for 28 years. And so we were a family that was taken care of. I never, as a kid, I can't remember a time where I didn't have something that I wanted. I was taken care of. And I think that was more of a concern, like, if I do have a family, will I be able to support my family? And so, but all in all, they're super supportive, and they jumped all in. My mom was a little leery when I told her I was moving to Alaska.
I can only imagine.
But she still is a little leery of me being in Alaska, 12 years later. But they love, anytime they come up here, they see what I'm doing and they see what I'm involved in, and it just confirms that I'm where I'm supposed to be. So that helps ease the pain a little bit of her son being 5,000 miles away. But
it is tough being away from family.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's very tough. So when you came up here, you started out as a junior high pastor, correct?
I did, yes. So I was initially hired to oversee our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade ministry here. And I did that for 10 years. And I loved junior high. I love junior hires.
Aren't they fun?
They are so much fun and so chaotic and so random and awkward in every good way possible. And I love every aspect of junior high ministry. And I loved the first 10 years that I had here serving in that ministry. And it wasn't until the last 2 years that I transitioned into our high school role. We had some staff shifts here. Some people left town and took other positions. And so our senior high pastor at the time moved into our young adults role. And then I moved into our senior high role. And then we hired a guy to come on as our junior high guy who was actually in junior high when I first started here at the church. Which,
and how old does that make you feel?
If you ever want to feel old, that'll do it. I actually had somebody ask me last night, and it was one of those moments where I felt old. They're like, "Hey, how long have you been playing guitar?" And I stopped and I thought about it, and I went, 20 years. Ow.
That is a revelation when you start talking about 20 years ago.
20 years of anything, And it's just so it was, and it's been great. I've loved, the transition into senior high was easy. Because there was students that I was already familiar with from when they were in junior high. So it really made that transition easier. The type of ministry shifts a little bit, but not as much as I expected, honestly. The students are dealing with the same issues, just sometimes they're processing it differently than a junior higher would. So it's been great.
I used to say when I was teaching kindergarten, the biggest difference between a kindergartner and a teenager was about 3 feet.
Yeah, that's pretty much. Yeah. No, I love it because they're in a stage, and I think the truth in that statement rings when you start talking about transitions in life.
Yeah.
So when a kindergartner's in school, they're learning all new things. They're learning how to count, learning how to write, learning how to make friends, how to have a social life, and then a junior higher, they're learning just as much. Just learning different things. So they're moving from concrete thought to abstract thought. They're moving into this new stage of development in their life. I read a scientific study a couple years ago that said the brain of a junior high student, that age range from like 11 to 14, the brain develops more in that 3-year window than any other time in their life. Wow. Just because the brain is just moving towards maturity, and so it's interesting. It's a great time in somebody's life because they're making those decisions that last a lifetime at that point. They're starting to decide what they believe and why they believe it, and they're starting to formulate those thoughts and those processes. So it's an exciting ministry to be a part of because there's something new every day. My favorite thing with working with junior hires was, I call them light bulb moments.
Yeah.
When you're talking to a student and they have that glazed over look in their eye, like, I have no idea what you're saying, and then all of a sudden it clicks. And you see them almost kind of snap into it. And you're like, there it is. Like, it just made sense in their head. So that was probably the best part of junior high ministry, was watching that get unpacked and watching them start to develop their own thoughts and their own ideas rather than just repeating what they've been told.
Rote learning.
Yeah.
What has been, or what do you see as some of the biggest challenges our teenagers are facing today?
Oh,
man. Or can you narrow it down to 2 or 3?
How long is the show?
Exactly. We're going to do part 2.
No, there's so much. But I would say, I actually just preached on this a couple nights ago in our church, is this idea of desire for community. They want to feel connected to something bigger than themselves, whether that be an adult that loves them, their family that loves them, a church that supports them. I mean, every human has a desire to be loved and to be cared for. I mean, it's just natural. And I think at that chaotic time of teenagers' lives, it just gets exemplified, and it's just so much need for that and desire for that. So when they don't get it in a healthy manner, they seek it out in an unhealthy manner, whether it be through unhealthy relationships with friends, boyfriends, girlfriends. Sometimes when they can't find it, they slide into a form of depression or substance abuse because they're trying to fill that void that can easily be filled by a loving, caring relationship. So I'd say that's probably the biggest thing. And that leads to so many other things. I think that's kind of one of the root issues. It's not the only root issue, but I feel like that's one of the issues that causes other problems in students' lives as well.
Speaking of community, Darryl, you recently took a group to Camp Barnabas.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your passion behind that ministry and why you feel called to continue to go back and take groups back there to serve.
So let me give you a quick Reader's Digest version about Camp Barnabas. Camp Barnabas is in Purdy, Missouri, which is in the middle of nowhere. Literally, very, hardly any cell service or anything like that. But it's a camp that ministers to campers with special needs. And each week they focus on different disabilities and different diagnoses and all that. So the week that we go is called Adult Friends Week. So all of our campers are 18 and older with developmental delays. So you could have a 35-year-old camper with the mental age of, say, like a 3-year-old or less, and different severity of delays. Some are physically delayed or physically disabled as well on top of that. So you could have campers that are wheelchair bound, wearing adult briefs, those types of things. So we take our students down there to serve these campers, and basically most of our students that come down with us will be assigned a camper, and they'll work one-on-one with that camper all week and provide for every need, everything that camper needs. Our student is required to assist them with. So you just imagine the ministry that takes place there when you have a 16-year-old boy that is a junior in high school, that is very self-centered naturally, having to sacrifice every desire in their own life and serve a 40-year-old camper that needs help showering, needs help going to the bathroom, needs help with their food. And it's just a humbling experience, but just a life-changing experience. What we accomplish down there in life change in our students' lives in a 6-day window, I can't duplicate up here in a 6-year window. I mean, it's just so impactful just to see the life change that takes place in kids' lives. And it's amazing to watch. As a youth pastor, I play a role called the cabin dad down there, and I have roles that I fill, and but I'm basically an extra set of hands for a cabin, so I don't have a camper specifically assigned to me. So I get to float a little bit and just kind of observe a lot. And I just love sitting back and watching our students working with their campers, and the first 2 days watching them look like they're going to pass out because they're just overwhelmed and stressed out and trying to figure out how this works. But by day 4, it's old hat, and they're just serving. So that's why we keep going. Just the life change that comes out of it is amazing, and just the ministry, lifelong ministry impact that comes from that. I actually served on that at that camp when I was in college. Actually, after my freshman year, after I got the call to ministry, I decided I was going to go spend a summer and work there on cabin staff, and it confirmed my call to ministry. Being there, serving for a week straight or a summer straight, it basically solidified I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. So it's got a special place in my heart. I always tell my wife if a full-time position ever gets called and offered to me, it'd be very hard to say no to Camp Barnabas. It's just an amazing, amazing place.
So aside from that, you have another big event coming up.
Absolutely.
Tell us about that. We're excited for you to unfold the news on it.
Yes. So we do for the last 11 years, this will be our 11th year, we do an event called Fusion Alaska. And basically, Fusion Alaska is a statewide youth conference that takes place every August. And we have students from all over the state of Alaska come and converge on ABT for a 3-day window. And we have students from Fairbanks, Homer, Uniclete brings a group in. We've just got kids from everywhere. Delta Junction has a group coming in this year, Glen Allen, Valdez. And it's just an amazing 3 days of just local leaders and national speakers and artists and bands just pouring into the students of Alaska. It's just kind of, a lot of times our students up here don't get exposed to the big conferences of the lower 48. There's some great ministries that take place down there. But it's just expensive for our students to be able to fly down for a conference and come back. And so we basically decided 11 years ago that we were going to bring the conference to them. And our church got behind it. Our pastor fully supported it. The crazy idea, when we pitched it to him, we were shocked that he said yes when he did. But we went with it. And it's been amazing just to watch God work through it. We've seen relationships between churches get built, and friendships between youth pastors grow stronger, and partnerships in ministry through it. And that wasn't even part of the original plan. It was just kind of a byproduct of it. And to see students' lives changed, I think over the 11 years we've seen probably close to 500 decisions for Christ, easy, if not more.
Wow.
Just in that and through it. And so we're excited. This year's lineup is amazing. I was actually just on the phone with a manager, just getting the final details lined out for our worship band for this trip. And we're super excited about them. We are messengers. If you don't know their music, look it up. But just be prepared to cry if you start watching some of their videos. And Darren, their lead singer, has just a heart for ministry. So they're going to be with us on Wednesday night, August the 2nd. And one of the great things about Fusion is we always try to get some of these artists to stick around and lead worship as well for the conference. So We Are Messengers will not only be here Wednesday night for a concert, but they'll be sticking around Thursday and Friday and leading worship for our students, which is amazing. Just a great opportunity to hear from somebody of that caliber 5 times in a 3-day window. It would be amazing. And then August the 3rd, that night, we have KB and Gavi. So if you're familiar with Lecrae and that hip-hop label, Reach Records, there's 2 guys on that label that are coming up, and they're going to be just putting on a great hip-hop night for us. We're excited. These guys are, again, hearts for ministry. They love the Lord and want to see kids impacted for Jesus. So it's one of the reasons we booked them. And then our final night is Colton Dixon. And if you're an American Idol fan, you probably remember him and his crazy hair and his mohawk and just his amazing vocals. If you're not familiar with Colton, I challenge you to just go listen to some of his stuff online, and you will be a fan by the time you listen to 1 or 2 songs. And he's just, again, a heart for ministry. He wants to see students come to Christ and learn through that. But the concerts aren't all about, that's not all what Fusion is. I know a lot of people that, the people that aren't a part of the conference, that's all they see is the concerts, because we do open the concerts to the general public through tickets. And but the heart of what we do is the conference. And during the day on Thursday and Friday, we pour into our students with a speaker, worship, and our breakout sessions. And the breakout sessions is what I love about Fusion, because it's local leaders giving up their time to pour into our students. So we have 4 breakout sessions on Thursday and Friday, 2 each day, and these local leaders will just present ideas, present topics that are relevant to what the students are going through. And the students have the ability to choose which classes they go to. So if there's a topic being taught on something that they want to hear about, they get to go and kind of control what they hear. So those are a big part of what we do. And that's where we see a lot of the life change and the commitments get made through those times. And then our general sessions are a time of worship and large group gathering where Eric Samuel Tim will be our speaker this year. And Eric is a great friend of Fusion and of ABT. He's been here many, many times. And if you ever want to be challenged to think outside the box and just see Scripture through a different set of eyes and just be challenged creatively and pushed to think differently, Eric is the man. I love him, and he's a great guy, but he thinks different, and I love it because he challenges me every time I hear him speak. Because he'll look at the same piece of Scripture that I see, and he'll say, "Have you ever noticed this?" And I'll be like, "Whoa, no, I haven't." And it's just so he's going to be pouring into our students in just a way that only he can. And so we're excited. We're excited about what he's going to do. So Fusion is August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. We start on Wednesday night with a concert kickoff event. I don't know. I haven't made it public. Maybe this will be where I'll make the public announcement. Our Wednesday night speaker is actually not going to be Eric. He'll be with us on Thursday and Friday. But a local guy by the name of Jimmy Stewart. He's with the Alaska Baptist Convention. And if you might have heard from him over the last year, he was actually scheduled to be with us at Fusion last year, but he had an accident at his cabin where a propane tank exploded, and he was burned on over 90% of his body. They weren't sure he was going to make it. But he's up and moving and alive, and he's a walking miracle. And he's going to come share his testimony that Wednesday night before the We Are Messengers concert. So we're excited about that. I'm excited that Jimmy was willing to do that for us. And he's such a friend of Fusion. He's poured into us and taught breakout sessions for years. So we just want to be able to let him share his story about how God's working in the midst of a struggle, in the midst of pain. He's still recovering. He's not completely healed, and every day is painful, and he's just going to share how God's been using that to be able to minister to people. So he'll be with us Wednesday night, and we're excited about it. But FusionAlaska.com has all the information. So if you want to register your students, your junior high or senior high students, you could do that there, FusionAlaska.com. If you are an adult and you feel like you've aged out of Fusion Alaska, we understand. It happens. I've been playing guitar for 20 years, so we get old. But we do open the evening concerts to the general public, and you can get your concert tickets there as well through FusionAlaska.com. There's a link for the concert tickets, and we would love to just have as many people there as possible. And it's going to be a great week.
And what ages is this for?
Sure. It's geared towards junior high and senior high. So honestly, I get that question a lot, like how young is too young, how old is too old, and I kind of leave it up to the parents. Obviously, on the upper end, we want to try and cap it at high school as much as possible for many of reasons. But on the low end, every kid is different. I've had some 6th graders that are able to handle it and are mature and able to, because there is a good amount of button seat time, as I call it, where they're sitting and listening and messages and topics and classes. And but then I've also had some 6th and 7th graders that have struggled a little bit just because they're not quite there yet. But we try to keep it entertaining, try to keep it moving for them all. Junior high and senior high specifically. And then we've had, and the concerts, again, are all ages. So if you feel like you don't hit that mark, by all means, come join us in the evening concerts.
Well, I definitely have aged out of that arena.
Yeah, but you're there every year.
I know, that's what I was going to say. This will be my 4th year, and I love Fusion. I think it's just a great time. Sometimes, most of the times, the speakers are turned up loud enough, and so where I'm working, I can still hear what the speaker is preaching about, which is, I think was it Eric last year too?
Last year, no, we had Ed Newton was our speaker last year.
Okay, the year before.
The year before that was Brian Burgess, I believe, and then the year before that was Eric.
Yeah, and so I've heard,
memory.
I could just be making it up. I don't know.
Well, I've heard all their sermons, at least a good portion of them. They're very, very good.
Yeah.
And I've attended the concerts, and It's not always my cup of tea for the music, but I always have a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said,
Very much looking
the
forward
heart of
to
what
it.
we do is the ministry. We want to see kids impacted for Christ. The gospel is presented multiple times throughout the week. We want kids to have the opportunity to respond and hear it.
And the kids have a great time. I see them in the hallways,
Oh, yeah.
running back and forth and talking to their youth leader, talking to their friends. I hear the conversations in the hallway. Sometimes I grab them to come and help me with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it's a great time. And so I encourage all parents to send their kids. It's just a wonderful time.
Yeah, and so a majority of our people that come with a youth group. So we have, last year we had close to 40 youth groups bring their students. And we want to support the youth pastors and all that they do. I'm a youth pastor, so I get it. I get ministry. I get how difficult it can be. Sometimes you feel like you're on an island, you're by yourself, you don't have the support that you want, that kind of thing. But so we want to be that support for the week. We want to do all the work so you don't have to. We want you to be able to spend time with your students. We want to feed you. And the Alaska Christian Women's Ministry does a great job at that.
Yes,
and
we
they
do.
Pour into our youth pastors. And that is the number one compliment we get, is that they love the fact that they can come and just be loved on for 3 days.
Well, we have a great time in there with them.
Yeah,
We get to meet them and
absolutely.
talk to them and spoil them.
Well, so anytime you feed a youth pastor, you've won them over immediately.
We try
Something
to,
other than pizza and lasagna.
we serve them homemade food.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, and
it's all
they
fresh.
love it. And
bet.
it's been a huge blessing to the conference in that. So we appreciate you guys doing that for us. But if you're a youth pastor, or you're a youth pastor's wife, or even just a youth leader in your church, we want to give you the opportunity to be there. Maybe you're not ready. I mean, we're only 20-something days out, so maybe it's too short notice to throw together a group, or maybe you want to go chaotic and get a group together. I fully support that. But if you're a youth pastor or a youth worker and you just want to come check it out, I encourage you to reach out to me at info@fusionalaska.com, and we'll get you a free pass for the week to come to check it out for possibly
Wow.
next year.
Yeah.
We want you to see what's happening, and maybe you just come in and check out one day. But just let us know you're coming, and we'll take care of you. We want you to see what's happening and what God's up to. So just contact us. You can email me at info@fusionalaska.com, and we'll get
Perfect.
you set up with a pass to get in and be able to just kind of check it out, because we think once you see it in action, you'll want your students to be a part of it,
Yes.
because it's just
That's great.
amazing to watch God work. And we've seen time after time God just do some amazing things in students' lives through it.
So I want to ask you, Darryl, speaking to the parent out there that's got a teenager that's not plugged into a youth group,
Yeah.
can they feel comfortable dropping their teenager off at this event? And is he or she going to feel plugged in?
So, like I said, most of our people come with a youth group, but we do have individuals that come as well. And what we have found is a lot of these kids, even if they aren't plugged into a youth group, they'll see familiar faces, because we literally have students from all over the city, all over the state that come to this. So especially students from Anchorage, they'll come in and be like, hey, I go to school with that kid. And they'll end up connecting, because a lot of times they don't necessarily hang out with just their youth group. They make new friends and they kind of float around throughout the facility. Now, I will say this, from a safety standpoint, as a parent, I am now aware of this as my son is getting older. We have volunteers roaming the hallways, the entire facility. We have security that's here on the grounds 24 hours, checking things out, making sure things are safe. And every single one of our classes are monitored, and we take safety of our students extremely seriously. And so we want you to feel confident in that and comfortable in that. And also, as a parent, if you just want to kind of hang out for a couple hours after you drop your kid off, by all means, we're not going to chase you away. You're the parent. And we would love, again, if you want to just kind of hang out and check it out and see what's up, by all means, just let us know you're coming, and we'll take care of you. So.
Perfect. That's fantastic. I might have missed it. Did you mention price, Darryl, and kind of
I haven't.
how that increases?
But I'm glad
Okay.
you say that. Yeah.
Go for it.
So the group rate is where most of our people register, obviously, with the youth groups and stuff, and we keep that at $80 a person for the entire week. Registration has been open since, I want to say, April is when we officially launched registration, and it started at $85 a person, and then it's jumped up to $105 a person. And I want to say, what's today's date?
The 11th.
It'll be the 11th or whenever this goes on air, 12th, whatever, something like that. This isn't live? What?
We just blew our cover, Betty.
Thanks, Darryl.
Just don't
welcome.
talk about the weather.
But I want to say until July 15th. So you have another couple days. It's at that 105. And then up until the day of, it's 125 per person for individual rates. And then at the door, it jumps to 150. So we just want to encourage you to register early and reserve your spot. And again, if money is an issue, don't hesitate to call. We don't want that to be the reason that a student doesn't get to experience this. We have a lot of generous people that have sponsored spots for kids that can't afford it. So if you at all need assistance with that, don't be too proud to give us a call or shoot us an email at info@fusionalaska.com, and we would love to see if we can set you up with a partner that would love to help with that. So
I think you did a great job, Darryl. You covered all the bases. I can't think of anything that was missed.
No, I thought it was great.
I just want to kind of speak to the parents. I mean, you guys know how much we all pay to send kids to sports camps and other things that they attend all summer long. This is an investment into eternity, really, and just into their lives and their characters of who our kids are.
The kids will have a great time. My grandchildren get to come this year, and I'm so excited.
I saw their names pop up on the registration list. I was pretty excited.
I got to get mine registered. So I'm glad for this little reminder to get this going. So thank you so much for joining us today, Darryl. We really appreciate your time.
Oh, my pleasure.
And
Thanks
all
for
that you
having me.
do for the church as well and just serving our youth. Thank you.
It's fun.
And that's another episode of Living Well. And we want to invite you to join us again next Wednesday at 1 p.m. on KATB 89.3 in Anchorage, as well as KJLP 88.9 in Palmer. And you can also find us online, katb.org. Also, be sure to look us up on Facebook as well as iTunes.